Welcome to another segment of D.B. Cooper Through the Lens of Logic. We are re-examining the money, and just real quick to run down what we went over the last video, I talked about the discovery axiom, which is that the higher the traffic in the vicinity, the more probability that the money gets discovered. Through contraposition, we can say that the converse is also true. The less traffic at Tina's bar, the less likely it is to be discovered. And when you combine that with the other axiom we talked about, which was the money axiom, which states the money is easiest to discover the day it arrives, and over time it becomes harder and harder to discover. So when you combine those two axioms, we pretty much pinpointed the timeline of when we thought that money would most likely arrive, and we thought that the springtime of 1979 was less likely, summertime was pretty much not likely, and fall, winter 79 was highly likely. And I even talked about October through December being the most probable based on weather. Now, of course, all that I'm examining in these videos, each element individually, so I'm really looking at them kind of in an isolated case. And it gets tougher and tougher to do that because as we're moving through these different portions, you can see that they're all interrelated. So I'm going to cover some things in the next few videos that will maybe change the way I would have approached the last video. In the last video, I stated that the money most likely arrives after September 3rd, and again, this is the discovery plus money axioms. I stated October, December is the most probable based on the weather, and my conclusion is really based on an assumption. And we're going to examine this assumption right now and make sure that that assumption was correct. So, let's talk about the facts. How'd the money get there? The money was found in proximity to each other. In fact, in Richard Tassau's book, Dead or Alive, he describes the money as touching. Touching. So either way, whether they're touching or not, you're really talking about maybe a square foot, so probably about this much, and you have 3 stacks within that square foot. Only 3 stacks found. Outside that 1 square foot area, there are no other stacks found, no other fragments found. The search of the surrounding area of the beach yields no additional cash, and something that's overlooked, subsequent searches by citizens also yield no other results. And that includes the entire Columbia riverbank, not just Tina's bar. So, when we infer off these facts, these 4 observations, those inferences are absolutely staggering. So fact number 1, the money is found in proximity to each other. So the likelihood that the stacks traveling independently of each other and showing up in that exact 1 square foot space and nowhere else, the odds of that happening are extremely small. In fact, it's not even worth talking about. So, therefore, what can we conclude? What can we infer from this? The stacks didn't travel independently. They traveled together. And my tentative conclusion there is that the stacks traveled in the money bag. Okay? Fact number 2, observation number 2. Only 3 stacks of cash were found. And what's this do? This supports our conclusion that the money did not travel independently, that they traveled together. It further implies that the money bag had to rip open once it landed and not before. Ripping before the bag arrives to the beach would actually mean that the money is spilling out as it's going down the river. And if it's spilling out as it goes down the river, it's spread out, not in a 1 square foot space like we found. So, therefore, pre-arrival rip in the bag is either too small to really matter, or it just didn't exist. And that means that the damage to the bag has to happen on the beach. Now, stated before, the money rot had to happen on the beach. Now I'm saying the damage to the actual bag has to happen on the beach and not before. Observation number 3. Search of the surrounding beach yields no additional cash. So this supports our last 2 conclusions, that the money stacks didn't travel independently, and that the damage of the bag was on the beach and not before. In fact, the damage occurred precisely in the exact spot where that money was found. And this implies that the bag didn't, rip open, drag along the riverbed, because the cash would have been spilling out as it went. So that didn't happen. And observation number 4. Subsequent citizen searches yield no additional discovery. So that means everybody from Frenchman's Curve, everywhere between Frenchman's Curve to Caterpillar Island to that whole area surrounding Tina's Bar, all of that, you know that people were searching after this money was found. Why wouldn't they? There's money! There's money on the beach to be found. Sure, there was none found right where they discovered the money, but, conventional wisdom was that, this money got there on its own, and this money could have been anywhere. Well, those searches yield nothing, and this again supports our prior conclusions that the money stacks didn't travel independently, that the damage to the bag happened where it landed, meaning where the money was found, and that the bag didn't drag along, spilling out cash. It's funny how all 4 of these observations are conclusive on their own, and they're also all consistent with each other. So, therefore, a reliable conclusion, what we can draw from these 4 observations, is that the stacks did not travel independently, the money bag was not damaged enough to cause spilling until after it arrives on the beach. And so far, these conclusions are very straightforward. I think pretty much everybody would have to agree with them. But it's very elementary. We've only talked about the obvious. So in the next video, I'm going to get a little bit deeper. Actually, the next 2 videos, we're really going to dig into this deep and really get into this. And join me then. We'll see you soon.